Hey, what's going on, guys? So I know you guys see the title of talking about the Honda Civic Type R making over 500 plus horsepower. So at Sema 2019, I was able to go to the Hondata booth and speak to Doug, the co-founder of Hondata. So he had basically an iPad that was set up in front of the Civic Type R explaining the amount of horsepower that you can actually make with the Honda Civic Type R. So basically Hondata has a new product coming out that'll be able to get you over to that power number. So basically guys, so before we even get into horsepower numbers, you guys have to realize that I know we all want our cars to make a certain amount of horsepower numbers, but you guys have to go into it thinking that you cannot chase after these high horsepower ridiculous number. For example, let's say 550, 600 horsepower. So when you get up to 550 to 600 horsepower in a front wheel drive car, there's a lot of stuff that you also have to compensate for. So number one, front wheel drive. When you get up there making that amount of power, and especially with this car, with this motor making that's around that same ballpark of horsepower as torque too, that is a lot of load on top of the engine, the transmission, and also being able to put that traction down and basically also burning through tires. So that's something you also have to compensate. So when you guys are looking at horsepower numbers, you have to think of a ballpark of what kind of numbers that you can actually make. Of course, and here's another example. Let's say I have a Civic Type R, someone else has a Civic Type R, and we have a third person that has a Civic Type R, right? If we all three of us dyno the same car, guess what? We're now all gonna make the same horsepower stock. So if my stock Civic Type R, the second person Civic Type R, the third person Civic Type R, all dyno, I might make 290, the other person might make 285, the other person might make 291. All of the cars are not made identical. It is all made by machines, and they're not going to be 100% identical for you to make the same amount of horsepower at that time, or the same amount of air going in there, same amount of a little bit more fuel going down into the engine to make the same identical amount of horsepower number. So you guys have to conversate and think about it like, okay, I can make around 330, maybe 328. I'm going in there thinking I can make 335. I have a close amount estimate of around horsepower that I can make. So I know that was a long going overdue process talking about that, but I want you guys to think of it going into of how much horsepower area that I can make with this car. So I hope that helps you. And I gotta say, this car, the Honda Civic Type R, is truly an amazing car for the amount of power, and being able to put that power down for front wheel drive is pretty amazing, especially with the amount of torque that this car can produce. So the first thing that I noticed, and I'm gonna post a graph here, is the first slide that he showed me was basically, and I'm looking, I have the numbers and everything wrote down on the paper. So he's saying with 91 octane you can make 317.34 and 332.04 torque, which I was thinking at the beginning, like, the car sticker says that it can make 306, but on this Dyno Graph it's saying 317.34 horsepower and 332.04 torque. So I was like pretty confused, like, okay, something doesn't make sense. But now I went online to do some more research to find out, okay, there has to be a better accurate reading, because if you guys ever dynoed your car stock, you would know that if the car says the sticker is 306 wheel horsepower and you go dyno it, more chances are that the car is going to make a little bit less more horsepower. So I went online, and I'm going to go ahead and post this on the screen as well, and I'm going to post a link to this video, and I'm going to post a link to 2 videos, and they're going to be in the description, so you guys can also check it out and do your research as well. But basically it says, okay, right here, Hondata Flashpoint Manager now supports flex fuel for the FK8 Civic Type R. By adding a flex fuel kit to your Type R, you can gain up to 69 horsepower to 79 foot-pounds of torque on a complete stock FK Civic Type R. Whoa, that is crazy. But I know you guys are probably going crazy right now thinking like 69 horsepower, 78 foot-pounds of torque. That doesn't sound right, or that's insane. So here I noticed in like the comment section, there is someone who made an awesome Q&A saying they put together a Q&A. So in this Q&A, it has a lot of details for you guys to check out, and it explains how the flex fuel works. So what I mean by flex fuel is basically a flex fuel sensor kit that you can put on your Civic Type R. So your car could be stock and make a lot of power with just being able to have this flex fuel kit with E85. So I'm gonna start off with this question right here. So the question is, how would I know if I'm at 40% ethanol once the flex fuel sensor is installed and those settings in place? And the answer is, you will look at your Hondata mobile app and pull up the ethanol content sensor, or if you have a fancy gauge and have that installed, you look there. 40% of ethanol content is what you want on your reading, or about 5 gallons of E85, then fill up the remaining with premium. So the way this flex fuel sensor works is basically flex fuel sensor kit will be basically, like they said, you're going to go to the E85 gas station and pump a certain percentage of E85. So you're going to go there, let's say your car gas light is on and you need some gas and you want to test your new flex fuel sensor kit. So basically you're going to go to the pump, put 5 gallons of E85 in there, then you're going to fill up the remaining with basically 91 or 93 octane. That makes sense that it will only have basically a 40% ethanol. So what you guys have to think about this is this. You have to also think that, so basically you're still on the stock fuel pump. So you're only gonna have a certain percentage of fuel pumped to the engine. So you have to look at it with just being basically a flex fuel sensor kit is only going to be a certain amount, so you can only run a certain percentage. Now the other main question that I want to look at, and you guys, all of this Q&A has a lot of information for you guys to check out, and you'll basically, if you're in the market for a Honda Civic Type R, this would definitely help you determine of what power goals that you guys can go after. So also the next question that I found very important that I've been trying to get a better understanding of is this question right here. Why are the power readings so high? Is this power to the wheels? How much power would there be at the wheels which is not reading high or low like on a dyno jet? And the answer says no, this is a power at the hubs. With the wheels taken off on a dyno jet, power is about 290 wheel horsepower on a stock FK8 Civic Type R. There we go. So that makes a lot of sense. Sounds a lot more right, because like I was telling you guys at the beginning, if the starter price of a car is, it says 306 horsepower this car can make, it's usually a lot less than that. So 290 sounds about right. So in the video it shows a peak gain at 386 wheel horsepower. So in the video, when you watch the video, it'll show you a peak horsepower of what you're making with ethanol content. So it says in this video, it shows a peak gain at 386 horsepower with a 40% reading on ethanol content sensor, which would you see on your Hondata mobile app. Multiply by 0.915 and you have a 353 wheel horsepower. So that is incredible, and that makes a lot more sense, and that is pretty crazy and incredible to make 353 wheel horsepower with basically the stock turbo and everything. So let's get back to the slideshow where we had the stock tune for the 91 octane. So I'm gonna go back to that. So for the stock tune for the 91 octane, it said it made 317.34 horsepower, and then it made 332.04 torque, right? Multiply that by 0.915 and you will have around 290.05 horsepower and 303.78 torque. So that sounds a lot better and sounds basically around the same ballpark, which is pretty insane and crazy. So basically for the second graph with 91 octane and tuned, you're looking at 350.97 horsepower and you're looking at 329.60 torque. With that multiply, you're looking around 320.25 horsepower and you're looking at 301.03 torque. So as you guys saw from the stock tune to the Hondata tuned with the car and the dyno and everything tuned, you saw that there's actually a little loss in torque right there, but you basically gain like 30 horsepower, which is insane for basically stock everything with just a tune. You're looking at 320 apart from the stock tune being 290. That is incredible. That is incredible. And they did one with 93 octane as well. They said that it came out to be 364.40 horsepower and it came out for the torque 403.87. With that multiply, you're looking at 333.06 horsepower and you're looking at 368.74 foot-pounds of torque. And that's just a 93 with the cartoon. That is pretty insane that you can make basically 333 horsepower and 368 foot-pounds torque. And guys, I'm not gonna of course assume that you can make this horsepower. My guess is you can make this horsepower, but this is giving you guys a ballpark estimated of around having an idea, because like I said, each car is different. So I'm giving you guys a ballpark of what to look for. So that's the 93 tune. So basically for the next graphs with 30% of the Hondata flex fuel, basically the flex fuel sensor kit, it's saying that you can make tune 386.39 horsepower on 411.83 foot-pounds of torque. That multiply, you're basically making around 353.19 horsepower and 376.06 torque. Wow. Wow. Stock everything with basically a higher octane. That is incredible. It's crazy how you can make more torque than horsepower with ethanol. So let's talk about the new product that Hondata came out with, and I'm gonna post a picture right here. So this is what Hondata showcased at Sema, their new Hondata fuel system. So as you guys can see, there's injectors, a fuel pump, and there is another piece for the pressure line, for the fuel pressure line. With this new fuel system, you can run up to, as the graph says, you can run up to about 55% flex fuel now. In the graph, as you can see in red, it says with Flash Pro Hondata FK8 fuel system, the flex fuel is the sensor kit that I'm talking about. It's actually called the Moto Flex Fuel. That intercooler, a high flow cat, you're looking around 428.44 and you're looking at 468.99 torque. That multiplies, you're looking at around 391.62 horsepower, and then the torque, you're looking at 428.22. Wow. Let's talk about this 506 horsepower that Hondata has a graph of. So as it says, the Hondata fuel system, 506 horsepower. Yes guys, that is ridiculous. So it says that this car with the Flash Pro, the Hondata fuel system that's being released soon, a full race turbo, a downpipe, race fuel, you're looking at 506 horsepower, right? 506 horsepower, 0.15, and the torque is 461.13. That multiplied, you're looking at around 462.99 horsepower, and you're looking at 421.81 torque. That is crazy. So now that you've heard these numbers and you have a ballpark area and idea of what this car can make, the max being 462, torque 421, you also have to think now about the limits of this motor with the stock internals, right? And then you also have to think about front wheel drive, putting this down to the ground, and of course running through your tires as well. So that all has to be compensated as well. So I even want to do some more digging and went to go talk to some Civic Type R owners that have full bolt-ons, or some Civic Type R owners that have a full K20 C1. If you guys don't know what I mean by K20 C1, that is the name of the Honda Civic Type R motor, and the chassis code of the car is called FK8. I went to go talk to one of the guys that have a built motor. He has a bunch of other guys who's actually has full bolt-ons on the Type R, who's tuning the car to see how much power it can make, etc, etc. So he's saying 395 is not safe for overtime of the engine internals, especially the rods for this engine. But he said a safe reliable power is around 365 to 375 max. Okay, so if you guys think about it, 365 to 375, that is still a good amount of power for a car that weighs 3,117 pounds. That is still a lot of power, and for 365 to 375 horsepower, you're making around the same amount of torque or a little bit more, which is pretty amazing as well. So now you kind of have an idea from around that flex fuel, where you're just basically buying a flex fuel sensor in Hondata, and you're almost there stock, pushing it to the limit with that flex fuel sensor with that 353 and 376 foot-pounds of torque. Man, it is cold today. But finishing up editing this video, I started making this video super late, so I was mad tired making this video. But I still feel like a lot of these numbers have a high torque, which I think the torque is a little too high, because like it's making like 376 torque and crazy about the numbers. But I still feel like you're still around that ballpark or close near it. But at the same time, I still feel like that sooner or later people are just still going to be able to find out to be able to make more power reliable. But 365 to 375 horsepower is still a lot of power to think about it. But I still feel like it could push out a little bit more power, especially with this new Hondata fuel system. I definitely feel like they could probably push the envelope from 365 to 375 even further, and that's not even before like the big turbo upgrade. So that is pretty dope that this car can make some crazy amount of power and torque, and be able, and then now another thing is trying to be able to put that power down to the ground. So there has to be some type of boost by gear that's eventually going to come out to be able to, of course, put that down for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. So can't wait for that. There's still a lot more parts coming for the Honda Civic Type R, which is dope, but just got to stay tuned. But I hope this helps. I hope this video helps and give you guys a ballpark or around how much you can make with this car and what this potential the car has. But if you guys like this video, definitely smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, And or if old subscribers watching this channel, hit the notification bell. YouTube did change the notification bell up a little bit, so maybe that's why you guys are not seeing the new videos. So definitely do that and subscribe to the channel if you're new. But that's it, guys. If there's anything that you guys want to achieve, find your inner drive, the thing that drives you to take a step toward your goals every single day and make it happen. Peace.